My name is Taylor Tongs, and I work with the team at the Keystone Test Facility in Cleveland, Oklahoma.
Outstanding, and thank you for joining us today. And we're talking a little bit off the air, and he was getting into his background. I said, hold on, we got to save that for the interview. This is good stuff. So before we get into what your company does and how you guys are involved in the oil and gas industry, talk about your background, how you got into the oil and gas industry.
I was born in a small town south of Calgary, Alberta, and wound up going roughnecking pretty much a couple of years after high school. And it was something that I never wanted to do, but wound up doing it anyways. And I actually fell into a really good situation and wound up roughnecking in Alberta for about 4 years, and then instantly real quickly went overseas when I was about 24 years old, drilling for Parker Drilling. And I spent 5 years traveling around the world and seeing all corners of the world with Parker, which I was very fortunate to do. After that, I went to work for a company out of Houston called Near4 Downhole Turbines. And then eventually wound up working for Gauge out of Aberdeen, Scotland, which were the inventors and the original guys for the agitator tool. At that time, I was running Canada as a one-man show for Gauge and selling the agitator. And from there, I spent the last 12 years developing tools, vibratory tools, different types of tools, and last June wound up going to work for the Keystone Test Facility in Cleveland, Oklahoma.
Keystone Test Facility, Cleveland, Oklahoma. Talk to me about what the company does, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't I see you have a Canadian cell phone as well? So are you guys doing some work in Canada?
Well, I still live in Canada, and I look after the Canadian market. There's a tremendous amount of, I should go back. The Keystone Test Facility is a test facility for testing downhole tools. We've got a big triple drilling rig, all electric, high-line power, top drive, with 15 open wells below it, which enables tool developers to come in and test out their new concepts, their new technologies, anything to do with downhole. We can facilitate a trial run or a trial run in a safe, cost-controlled environment. So let's say you're developing a new RSS, you can come in and actually drill through virgin rock, 3,500 feet vertically, and you have the ability to go 3,000 feet horizontally, just to prove your technology. It saves having to go to your best customer that's an operator and beg for a trial. It allows you to dramatically accelerate your R&D process and come to the market, go to your best customer with a tool you know will work.
This might sound like a dumb question here, but is your facility, your company, is it a simulation on site? Do you guys have a headquarter? Talk to me about how you guys do the testing. I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but I just kind of, I'm thinking of those three different ways and how, seems like there's different ways you can test nowadays with simulation and et cetera.
Well, simulation will give you a pretty good idea. But at the end of the day, what Keystone offers is a real-world downhole environment. Basically, what we have is a complete drilling site. It's no different than if you go out to the Bakken or to the Permian and you drive onto an active well site with a rig and they're drilling away. That's what we have. The difference is, if you're a tool developer and you're coming in to test your tool, all of a sudden it's not the operator's site anymore. It's your site. the crews at Keystone are there to do what you want to do. You're not constrained by operator timelines or anything else that goes along with being an operator. The operator's job is to drill the well as fast and safely as possible. In our facility, our job is to let you do the work that you need to do. We'll design the entire run around what your targets and your objectives are, and we will make that happen.
So this might be a obvious question, but I know you said downhole tools, et cetera, but who would be your customer? Does it go beyond the tools, or kind of talk to me about who your guys' customers are? If you want to drop a few names, go nuts, but just more of the sub-niche of industry than anything.
Anybody that is developing a downhole technology. I don't want to drop names because the whole thing is, confidentiality is a big part of our business. We have major companies coming in that, we're obligated to keep everything tight on location. Nobody wants, a lot of this stuff is in the development phase, and nobody wants to know or to have it leaked out what anybody is doing. But let's say you've got an idea to make a new mud motor. You've done some things to change, to make things better. You've got the same concept only, but you come up with a prototype. You can come into our well and do a test on your new mud motor of your design to either prove or disprove the theory.
You guys are like a little science project that people can come play at, huh?
Absolutely. NOV, Baker, Schlumberger, they all have their own test facilities. The majority of the really small companies don't have this option. The little bit smaller service companies, but they have some great ideas, and they need a platform to prove their theories and ideas. That's what we can offer. There's inherent problems with going to an operator and doing it. The typical way that most people have always done it is go to an operator and ask for I've got this great idea. The operator goes, okay, well, we'll give you a shot. There's an inherent problem with that, is you're going into the hole with basically an unproven tool, an unproven technology, or you're putting the risk on the operator. And if things go bad and the tool fails, your best case scenario is you have a trip. The worst case scenario is you got a fishing job. And it's risk management. What we offer is absolute risk management.
Well, and what you offer too is something that a number of CEOs and I have talked over the years. I'll name one, Barry Batchelor, CEO of Appario. He used to be with John Deere and Phoenix International. He's one of those guys that's a heavyweight in the world of corporations and ag, et cetera. And I was fortunate enough to interview him a number of years ago. And a side conversation that we got into was the importance of small businesses during a technological revolution, because corporations, they take time to turn. They got to go through board meetings and they got to get votes, and they're designed that way. They're designed to be the big boulder slowly rolling down the hill, whereas small companies, need to turn on a dime a lot of time to adjust and be nimble and adapt in business. And so a lot of the corporations really like having small businesses around for that. And so just to validate your point a little bit for this use of your platform, honestly, that's what attracted us to this story, was that there is a need for platforms like yours in a variety of different ways. And I'll pat myself on the back a little bit. We feel like we have this similar platform to allow companies that are helping innovate this industry in different ways. I mean, a few weeks ago, we had a nice young professional on talking about canine leak detection. That is a great little niche way to do prevention within this industry. And so I'm going to get off my soapbox here for a second, but what you understand what I'm saying then there, where yeah, anytime you got an innovation chapter going through business, corporations in these big companies, which are countries, they rely on these small businesses. So what is your biggest challenge, would you say? Is it that trying to get the masses out there, or what would you say your biggest challenge is right now in the oil and gas industry?
Well, the biggest challenge for me is when I talk to a new tool developer, and even guys that have been doing it for a long time, their first answer is, well, we'll just find an operator to run a test. Well, there's no need for that anymore. A couple things have happened in the industry. Number one, the oil companies, at least in Canada, used to be run and owned by gamblers. They were inherent gamblers because that's how they made it work. They rolled the dice. With the modern management of an oil company is not to roll the dice. It's not. It's based on risk management. You've got much more active roles by accounting and people with accounting backgrounds, and inevitably the oil companies are being run more and more by some of the most risk-averse people on the planet. So therefore, that trickles down. Nobody wants to run an unproven technology in their well because they may like the idea, and everybody's going to try and get away from it just because of the risk. You can bring your technology to our facility, and the risk is managed. If you go to a customer well and you put your new tool in the hole, and something goes wrong, number one, they always tell you we'll give you we'll give you all the information you need to do a post well on this, and that usually turns out to be about 30% of the information. Usually it's just a yes, it worked, or no, it didn't. It's pretty simple like that. With our facility, you get 100% of the information. Now, if you do your testing in an operator well, and something goes wrong, and let's say you have to trip, it may be a 50-cent O-ring that causes your tool to fail. But it costs you so much moving ahead in terms of time and money, because you come out of the hole and your tool was non-performed, and then you say, okay, immediately the operator says we need a root cause investigation. We need to figure out what went wrong, why it went wrong, and we need to come up with an action plan to fix the problem, and then you can come back and see us. That timeline can easily be 6 months. In our facility, you go in the hole and you fail because of a 50-cent O-ring that maybe got nicked in the assembly or something like that. You come out, change the O-ring, and go back in, or modify the tool however you need to. You can be in the hole the next day. Therefore, we have the ability to allow you to accelerate your R&D so dramatically that, what may have taken 6 months or possibly even longer, you can get condensed down into 2 to 3 days, depending on, what the issue is. But the other thing about our facility is because we're confidential. If your tool goes in the hole and it doesn't work, you're the only one in the world that knows. Bad news travels a whole lot faster than good news. So if you have a tool, if you have an assembly or a tool or a situation that fails dramatically, then chances of that news getting around to other operators is pretty good. And that just extends your timeline to find somebody else to run your tools.
Okay, so just winding down a little bit, I wrote down trial and error preventative. And so, science projects too. I'd like you to talk a little bit about the trial and error if you can. I mean, I would imagine that is a big selling point because people want to be preventative. Just talk to me a little bit about that on more of the 5,000 foot view. What ends up happening when someone gets done going through that trial and error process? Just kind of walk me through that a little bit.
Well, you have the opportunity to prove your theories, make modifications to tools that needed. You get 100% of the information, which leaves the site with you. We retain no information. You get to leave confident that your tools will perform in a downhole environment, in a true downhole environment. And you also have a rig location, well name that, in essence, you have a case history. It's the safest case history you'll ever get in your life as a first run, because you haven't exposed if you're going to build a tool and you're going to go and try and get it in the ground, you do not go to your worst customer. You go to your best customer. And you want to do your very best to keep them your best customer, so you want to go with proven tools. It's hard enough getting an operator to run a new technology, but it makes things a lot easier if you've done the legwork first. Usually, say a project costs you $1 million, and say you got to come out and it costs you $50,000 to complete all your testing, and that's quite a bit of testing. You spent that $1 million to take it to 80% of the way. It's not a cost. Testing is not a cost. It's an absolute investment. And it's not only an investment in yourself and your company and your tool, it's an investment in your customers.
I'm glad that you brought up the dollar figure, because I wrote down dollar figure financing help. And the reason I wrote down those words is I would imagine now, and mythbuster me if this is wrong, but I would imagine that having that information would help get financing, help be literature for a bank for financing, investors, whoever it might be. My guess is that having that test information done would be a nice asset or a nice, like I say, a nice piece of the give us some money help, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but I would assume it would be.
Absolutely. And from an oil company or an operator standpoint, if somebody comes into your office and says, we want to, I've got this idea, we've got these tools, and, and you really want to see it happen. Like there's a real benefit to your oil company by running this technology, but you're very hesitant to run it in your own well because of the risk management. Your whole job now as a field superintendent or any of these upper management guys is risk management. So what you have is the option. What we can do at the Keystone is have the option of you and your customer, either the operator and the vendor, or the vendor and the operator, getting together and coming and using our well to prove the theories and the technology. We have the ability to send securely real-time data and video from our location to anywhere in the world. So let's say Exxon, Joe's Tool Company goes into Exxon and says, Mr. Exxon, I've got this new technology, and we really think you'd like it. And Exxon goes, yeah, we really like it, but we are hesitant to put anything in our own well because the risk is too great. But the two can partner up and come to our facility and participate in a test together. Now, the vendor, the tool developer can come in and run the test. Meanwhile, all the engineering team at Exxon, if they're not able to come to location and witness it live, we can send out video and data live. It's with all the technology around, you don't necessarily have to be at location to participate. And it becomes a very safe, controlled, cost-effective, and you achieve risk management by doing it in our well, because there's no commercial liabilities associated with our test wells.
Keystone Test Facility. Taylor Tongs is on the line with us. I'd like to give guests kind of the final thought, the final word, if you will. Anything that we missed on, anything that you want to reiterate. That way the question's not phrased by me, and you can kind of take whatever direction you want. So the floor is yours, sir.
Well, we're happy to any technology that goes downhole. The only thing we're not able to do is frack. But other than that, any completion, if you want to do a function test on a completion, if you want to test a new circulating sub, you want to test a new mud motor, new RSS, a new LWD, we're completely capable of doing that confidentially, safely. The one thing I can say is not all tests are the same, and not all the costs are the same. I've had a number of people that are surprised at how cost-effective the testing can be, depending on what they want to do. The more expensive, if you're testing LWD, you've got a tremendous amount of money tied up in the R&D of that tool. The cost to test it is an absolute investment.
Oh, I lied. One more question I forgot to ask. I like to ask all of my guests, what shale plays are you currently in, and which shale plays would you like to be in? Are you guys specific to certain geographies, or talk to me a little bit about the different shale plays in your activity?
Well, obviously, the Permian is the big one right now. But as far as the Keystone facility is involved, our typical customers are anybody from a guy with a great idea and a prototype in a garage in Midland to anybody else on the globe. We deal with big companies, small companies. We're truly a world-class facility, and we're set up as so that let's say Statoil out of Norway wants to come in and do some testing. A little guy in his garage in Midland has the same amenities and the same capabilities as Statoil. We're not focused on any one play. We're focused on technology innovation and technology globally.